I wanted to touch base with you this morning. You may or may not know, but currently Trinity and us are the only schools that are not remote. We hope to keep it that way as far as us being able to keep in-person sessions going, but we all know that's a day-by-day type of thing. It just depends on how many have to quarantine. If we end up with positive cases, there's a lot of things for us to take into consideration for that. So we're doing everything we can to be able to stay in person. And we appreciate all of our families that are working hard in order to kind of try to keep that going by not sending their kids if they're sick at all, or if your child has been around somebody that's positive, or if somebody in the household has any symptoms at all. And so we really appreciate that. That's helped us tremendously to be able to keep this at bay and to be able to stay in person. But at the same time, we want to be as prepared as possible for going remote. So attached to this email, there's a survey I need you to take. It's going to ask you about your internet. We do have a couple hot spots, and we can get more if we need to. So if you do not have internet at your home, let us know so that we can try to be as prepared as we can for that. That'll kind of be on a first come, first served basis because our funding isn't unlimited, as you know. But we will do our best to help that. I highly recommend that you go ahead and check out your students' Chromebooks if we go to remote. The kids are used to using those devices. They know how to log in their information from that, and that will help tremendously. One thing I want you to know is that if we go remote, it is not going to be like last spring. We will have meaningful learning, new concept taking place. It will be like the school day, except that it will be remote and not in a building. So the students will be required to have daily meaningful contact with their teachers. The students will be having assignments, quizzes, grades will be taken on those. And so that assurance paper kind of explains that your child will be expected to be able to get on at least during the day part of the time, and that you may have to assist your child with some of their learning needs. And we need to have those returned if you haven't done so. That's a requirement by the state. Much better than what the state was going to require, which originally was for you to log into PowerSchool and log how many hours your child worked on homework or worked on their schoolwork that day. That was going to have to be done every day, and the expectation was to be 6 hours. So trust me, this is way easier. This is a one-time paper you have to sign saying that you will help your child and that you know your child needs to be available during the day. I also would like to have an idea of who you plan on having stay with your children. If you haven't planned that yet, you need to. We would like to know who's supervising your child. Try to get their emails to make that as easy as possible. That could be a junior high student. That could be a high school student that's on remote. Think out of the box a little bit and think about that and let us know who that might be. If you absolutely do not have anyone, we need to know that as well, and that's part of the reason that question is in there. There is the possibility that we could bring in small groups of kids. And we would prioritize that by families who absolutely have no one to keep their kids. For kids that have struggles with learning or ILPs or IEPs, and then we would prioritize that for the younger students over the older students. And that is fluid. It will depend on if I have adults to be able to work with those kids. Now, Mrs. Hull and Mrs. Walls, they're pretty much going to be online all day with York students doing their typical lessons through Google Meet and Google Classroom. Versus second beginning some, kindergarten, pre-K, a little bit, not as much, just because we have to be age appropriate here, we know that. So a lot of that's going to depend on what we have in the way of adults that are available to help with that. Basically, what that will mean is your child will be in a room spaced out more so than we do now. They'll be on their computers, and then an adult would just be there to help them do their assignments and to log in with their class and stuff like that. So they would still be doing remote learning. It would just be that they would be supervised here at school to do that. We are limited by how many students we can bring in a space, so I know that as well. But we'll do what we can with the resources we have to make that possible, if it's doable at all. So fill out that survey, please. Get that information to us so we can kind of start preparing and be ready for that. The other thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is that, we are only in person because of you and our teachers and our staff who have made great efforts to keep themselves virus-free, by avoiding large groups, large get-togethers, if they're ill at all or sick at all, staying home. And so we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and I want you to think long and hard about, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do, but I want you to think long and hard about basically who you're getting with, how many people you're getting with. I know personally, I'm not going to be getting with my own kids here in town. I can't afford to quarantine. I can't afford to come up positive because I could wipe off the whole school. These aren't easy decisions to make by any means, and I know that. With my whole heart, I know that. But if we want to have our kids in school in person, we have hard choices and we have sacrifices we have to make. And so I want you to think about that. If over the holidays you are getting with people that don't live in your household, please check back with them before sending your child to school to see if anybody that your child was around during that time came down with any symptoms. If they did, do not send your kid to school. Be super mindful of that. If anyone in your family has contact with somebody who's positive, it's okay to wait a day or two to see what happens with your child. And if your child had contact with anybody with symptoms, then do not send your child to school. And the only way we will be able to continue to be in person is if we don't have spread in our building, if we don't have a lot of people quarantined, and if we don't have positive cases coming to school. And so we have hard decisions and choices to make. And again, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I can't, and I wouldn't want to. But I do want you to think about and make educated decisions regarding who you spend time with over the holiday season. So thank you so much. Again, we're only able to stay in person because of you guys and doing the hard work that you've been doing right now as far as not sending your kids when they're sick. So I ask that we continue to do that. Call me, by the way, at home, weekend, whatever the case may be, if someone in your family is a close contact, so we can walk through that. If someone in your family comes down with symptoms, if someone in your family has to quarantine, if somebody tests positive, feel free to call me as soon as you know that information so that we can start figuring out what we need to do on our end regarding all that. So again, thank you so much. Let's go on keeping on and pray that we're able to continue to be in person for as long as possible. God bless. Thank you.